Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Amber.
And I'm Ivan Penaluna.
And on today's episode,
the war on cash.
Oh, you guys like to tell jokes and giggle and kid around, huh? Giggling like a bunch of young broads in a schoolyard. Well, let me tell a joke.
I wanted this to be professional.
I don't gotta listen to this shit.
You certainly don't, pal. Because the good news is... Awesome!
With Byron Bertram and Ivan Penaluna.
Ivan, today's episode, War on Cash. What are you talking about?
Well, what we're talking about with the war on cash is that there's been a number of moves by central banks around the world recently. They've been putting out signals that they are contemplating, and in some cases are actually moving to eliminate large denomination banknotes from circulation. So it started in Switzerland. You've got the Swiss central bank saying, hey, we're going to take out the 1,000 Swiss franc note out of circulation. You also have the same noises coming out of the Euro central bank. They are talking about taking the 500 euro note out of circulation. And just this week, Larry Sumner, that voice piece for the deep state in the United States, has come out and said, hey, you know what we should do? We should get rid of the $100 bill. Why are they doing this? Well, at the same time, central banks are flirting or toying with the idea of negative interest rate policies. They're called NIRPs for short. And basically what this means is that the central banks of the Western world have nowhere else to go. The analogy that I always draw is that basically in 2008, the world economy was shot multiple times, right? And it was rushed into hospital immediately. And the surgeons there found that they could not stem the flow of blood coming out of the wounds. So what they did, the only way they could save the patient was by constantly pumping in new blood. This blood had to come from somewhere. It came from public donors. So for the last 8 years, they've been pumping in blood from public donors into this corpse, which is essentially dead. But what they can do by pumping new blood in all the time is they can turn around and say, hey, look, this patient's alive. This guy's alive. But as soon as they stop pumping in that blood, the guy's dead.
So it's like a skeksis, right? So the economy is like a skeksis with like the character from The Dark Crystal. You know that Jim Henson movie where like he's like a really old, and then they have to take little elves and like take their blood and like so that these skeksis can live forever.
Right. So that's what was happening. Now that policy, they've run out of blood now, and they're thinking, shit, what are we going to do? And they're running out of ideas. They're getting pretty desperate now. So their new idea, you've got to say, this is fantastically fanciful. The new idea is negative interest rates. That means that basically
NIRPs.
Interest rates are in the zero. So what they want you to do is they don't want people to hold savings anymore. And the way people sometimes hold savings is through cash. They say, want to fight terrorism and crime by getting rid of cash, but I think that's a lot of
so that there's no
there's no untraceable money in circulation. This is where they want to go eventually.
or counterfeit.
Or counterfeit.
But that's just
it's not about
that's
counterfeit.
the front story.
No, I mean, counterfeit money is the stuff that you can print off a press and no one's questioning. I think that's counterfeit money. But the thing about this is that they want to encourage people not to hoard cash or save cash.
But if they get rid of cash, then they'll just have like an infinite number of zeros and ones in the digital world.
Well, exactly. It'll all be electronic cash. A lot more easier to control. But the thing is with the zero interest rates is that they want to encourage or coerce, should we say, people into spending money, because you can't hold money in a bank if there's there's negative interest rates. You're not getting anything for it. And also you may well be charged on holding money within a bank because you've got negative interest rates.
So people will be withdrawing their money just because having the money in the bank will cost them money.
Exactly. So basically, what they want to do is encourage people to spend that money on their products like mutual funds, stocks, real estate. They want to.
So they're discouraging saving.
Absolutely.
So you think it's planned obsolescence?
Absolutely.
It's like we're going to force you to spend your money.
Hey, it's not my idea. You listen to any of a number of outlets on this, and people are very, very worried about this. It's a dangerous game they're playing.
A few years ago in Cyprus, the banks did this thing called a bail-in. Can you explain that?
So the bail-in in Cyprus worked like this. The banks in Cyprus were in a lot of trouble, and they decided that the way they would get out of trouble, because they didn't have a lot of money, was that they would charge anybody who held over 100,000 euros in a deposit, they would charge them 10 to 12%. So if you had deposits that totaled over 100,000 euros, you would get a haircut of 10 to 12%. And that money would then go to the bank. That's what a bail-in is.
So hang on. So you put your money in the bank,
yep,
and then they take it away from you.
They take 12% of it.
Just by virtue of the fact that you have your money in the bank.
Just by the virtue of the fact that they need the money.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
It makes massive sense if you're a bank.
Oh, right. It's like, wait, this is the best part. You give us your money.
Yeah.
We lend it to other people.
Yeah.
We make money off of your money. And we get to keep part of your money.
Yeah, no, this is great. Imagine it's like a big game of Monopoly where you can make up your own rules.
Oh, that's what the bank is.
That's basically it. And you can just print, you run out of money. Remember, everybody knows, right? Everybody learns about banking for when they're about 7 or 8 from playing Monopoly. That's traditionally this is why Monopoly is a great game. You learn about how money works through Monopoly. But Monopoly nowadays, if they had to bring out a new version of it, it would basically have to involve a little printing press where you could just basically print as much money as you wanted and you could make up the rules as you went along.
Well,
and so all of a sudden the bank can turn around and say, yeah, you owe me money. Why is that? Because I just fucking say so.
Yeah, that's right. I landed on free parking, which means I get all the money in the bank machine.
So now, basically, what central banks around the world are doing is, and I really have to apologize because there aren't enough jokes in this, but basically, what central banks are doing around the world is saying, hey, bail-ins, that's a great idea. We're going to do that with our savers. So I just think that everybody should get used to the idea bail-ins are coming, because there's nowhere for the central banks to go. They've run out of ammunition. They can't keep the patient alive. They are in desperate times, and they're looking at desperate measures.
Well, it's interesting because what they've been doing is they have different ways of taking different currencies out of the marketplace. In Australia and New Zealand and now in Canada, they've eliminated the penny, right? The 1 cent coin.
That was a big scam, right? Because of the price of copper.
Yeah, so basically, on face value, most people were like, well, I hate the penny. The penny makes no sense. I got a pocket full of pennies. They're worthless. Let's get rid of them. Now, the thing is, right, like, you no longer have to make them. There was already 100 billion of them in circulation. You didn't need to make any more, and you could have just stopped printing them. But no, they went one step further, and they spent millions of dollars to withdraw them from the marketplace, from circulation. So now nobody even uses the penny, right?
No, but they can make a load of money off selling that copper.
Yeah, so then most people didn't deposit their pennies. Most people kept them in a drawer, or they donated them to some sort of cause or something like that.
Yeah.
So there was this $1 billion drawdown from the economy. They basically withdrew $1 billion out of the economy just by eliminating the penny. And then they melted all those pennies down. So that's another $2 billion in copper, right? So so that was a scam. Basically that was a $3 billion shakedown.
Exactly. And while we're on the note of what could be called the cheap end of precious metals, copper, this brings a good point up, and that is precious metals. So at this point, I would say it's even more important than ever for people to own physical gold and silver, because if this is the way the economy is going, you need to have something tangible in your hand that can't be diluted. It can't be held to ransom by central bank policies. You own the gold, you own the silver, you can do whatever you want with it. You can stash it away. Until they make it legal, it's a great place to put your money.
Until they
make it illegal.
Exactly, which has happened before in the 1800s in the United States after the Civil War,
and
they
in the 30s.
Forced people in the 1930s again. They forced people to cash in their gold and silver.
Agreed, but it's never happened in Canada as far as I know.
So that's what the book Wizard of Oz is all about. It's an allegory for the monetary system. Gold, the yellow brick road is gold. In the books, her slippers were made out of silver, right? They represented the monetary system. The two witches represented the two major banks in Chicago and New York. And, why did the witches melt when they got water thrown on them? That's liquidity. So it was like an allegory for the banking system, and it's all happening all over again. They're flooded the market with cheap money. They're going to make everybody spend the money that they have. They're going to discourage saving, and then what's going to happen? They're going to drain the marketplace of all the cash, and then you'll see. Then they're going to stop it.
Well, you know what? This is what happens when you've got a debt-based society. If you've got a debt-based society, this is the logical end game of a debt-based society. Everybody's in debt. The central banks are bleeding sovereign nations of all of their wealth and everybody within them.
So
these are vampires that are never quenched.
Yeah.
The central banks have got so much debt, they can never have enough money to pay all that shit off.
But so that, which totally leads to the black market underground economy. Like, what are people going to use to buy things? You know, like gold,
commodities, cigarettes,
cocaine,
alcohol,
drugs,
whatever, medicines, you know, foodstuffs that you can store long term, canned goods.
So that's what we should be storing.
You know, all this stuff.
Tuna.
We're going to get into this in the next episode.
But
we're going to talk about
10 cans an hour.
We're going to talk about collapse, and we're going to talk about prepping in the next episode. So I don't want to get into this too much, but next week we're going to have another episode, and it's all going to be about collapse and preparation. Anyway, on that note, let's go to the fucking news.
This is the fucking news.
All right, go. In 5, 4. I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
This is the fucking news.
Fucking thing sucks.
All right. In the news this week, Cape Breton Island has launched a website called Cape Breton If Donald Trump Wins, encouraging lefty Americans to defect to Cape Breton in the event that they don't get their way in November. The site boasts that in Cape Breton, women can get abortions, Muslim people can roam freely, and
Is this real?
apparently, and the only walls are the ones holding up the roofs on their extremely affordable houses.
This is brilliant.
Well, obviously that was a joke website that a guy put together.
Sort of semi-serious.
No. Well, he was making a joke. He was I think he was a radio DJ or something like that, who was making a joke. But he had 100,000 people show interest.
Yeah, I know, and that speaks volumes as to the mindset of the people that he's appealing to. Yep. I mean, you know, I joked about this. The last thing that Canada needs is more liberals right now. Yeah. You know, we don't want American liberals coming to Canada, right? Because that's going to fuck with our demographic.
The only thing I can think of is if we get them to all go to the same ridings because of how our electoral system goes, they just keep electing, and Cape Breton already always elects only NDP. So, like, that would be status quo.
Well, they went
but we have
liberal
to make
this time
sure
around.
They don't get to wander off and spread and screw up.
First, it's important to note that Nova Scotia has very few people.
Yeah.
Right. There's lots of room there. So, like, you know what? I'm for sending all the liberals to Nova Scotia, right? Yeah. And then we could just cut it off. We can just build a little wall there. Right. But what's important to notice is that in 1776, during the American Revolution, there's this guy named Benjamin Franklin, right?
Oh yeah, I remember him.
Right. So he discovered electricity, and he was one of the founding fathers of America. He's on one of their notes. He never.
Is it $100 bill?
He was never.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He was never a president, but he was a very influential dude, right? He actually got on a horse, and in the winter of 1776, apparently, he rode to Montreal on horseback to try and convince the French to fight along with them against the English, right?
Oh, that would have caused so many problems for America in the future if the French would have been involved in the development of the American
dream.
Yeah.
But the French were like not going to have it. They were like, no, we don't want to help you fight the English. We just want to be separate on our own, right?
Right.
So he went back and he was like, oh well, right. But what happened was that after the battle was won and the Americans got their independence, they had this massive influx of what they called British loyalists that ended up in Canada. Yeah. And so Canada got reinforced by the British loyalist system.
Yeah.
Right? Do you follow what I'm trying to say
no,
here?
absolutely.
Yeah, I
know
think that's
this.
the only time they actually did follow through on the threat to leave America if they didn't get their way. Because, I mean, every election when a Republican wins, there's always a bunch of people going, oh, if Bush gets reelected, I'm leaving, man, I'm leaving. 8 years later, if Trump goes, I'm leaving. Oh, for sure this time?
It's so interesting to see which celebrities do that. This time it was Samuel Jackson. Yeah. Who basically said, you know, if that motherfucker gets in, I'm leaving. And, you know, he was a very interesting character to say that sort of stuff. But usually it's people that America could quite easily say goodbye to anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to happen. You know what? Canada could use a few people anyway. Like, it's not like we don't have a lot of space, you know, and a lot of these liberals that are going to, you know, these people who are threatening to come to Canada, they might actually have a bit of money.
Right.
You know?
Trudeau needs some money. Trudeau needs some other people's money, so he could take it off them at the border.
Nova Scotia could
and then
use
give
the
it
people.
give it to the Ontario government.
But as soon as all those people get to Nova Scotia, they're going to be like, "This place sucks," and you're like, "Yeah, because you guys are there. That's the problem."
No,
the problem is you guys.
I was just having a discussion with a friend of mine last night, actually, where he was talking about he grew up in Portland, and just how bad that city has gotten over the last 30 years or so.
Because of all the hipsters.
Yeah, because all the non-crazy people just are like, I can't take this anymore. I'm moving to Texas, or I'm leaving. And then all the crazy bra burners and everything else from everywhere else in the States are like, Portland is like our mecca.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just gotten distilled and distilled and distilled. Like, he was telling me a story about when he worked at college radio in the 90s, even the state, I think it was Portland State University, they were having things where nobody was allowed to identify themselves or anybody else by a gender. So you couldn't say, well, I'm a dude. So, or you couldn't even, you couldn't call Sarah, she's not in her office. It would just be, Sarah's not in her office, because you couldn't identify that it was a she. And I was thinking he meant, oh, you went back to college like in the last year or two. He's like, no, this was like 1993, but it was in Portland.
Yeah, and there was an article in Zero Hedge recently saying where most of the migration within the US is taking place, and Oregon was in the top 4.
Yeah,
people are moving to Oregon, people are moving to Washington.
Yeah, so they're concentrating the crap in one area,
and these are the two most. Well, they've got resources.
Well, resources too. But I mean, like in terms of the town, because I would think a lot of
free weed. I forgot free weed.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm sure free weed doesn't play into it, but it's free weed. Yeah. Did I mention that? Free weed.
So I might have. So what you're saying is that we might have to adopt some American refugees.
Yeah,
this is the future of American refugees.
Yeah, but the good thing about adopting American refugees is that they share the same value system, and
as long as you don't put them in Alberta. Well, now it's the same, I guess.
They share the same value system. They share the same regard for the rule of law, territorial jurisdiction, the separation of church and state. None of those things are an issue. They're cut from the same democratic cloth that Canadians or British people are. It's not an issue. They mix well together. That's what I'm saying.
Sort of, yes.
So you bring people from sort of like rural Pakistan, that's a problem. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's always been the point. That's always been the point of people go, you can't point that out. That's racist.
The difference between Americans and people from rural Pakistan is that the people from rural Pakistan will actually work.
Are you saying that Americans wouldn't work?
No, I think that's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, no, you're saying that American liberals won't work because they're too used to government handouts.
That's right.
And government jobs.
They're not going to come here and do jobs.
But turning up to a job that you're not actually being paid for brings us into our next story, does it not?
Yes, it does. Dream jobs. A Spanish civil servant has been ordered to repay over 25,000 euros in wages for time he didn't actually work. He was an employee of a water utility in the city of Cadiz who didn't show up to the office for 6 years and, quote, did absolutely no work in the 3 years before he retired in 2011. The unnamed man figured out how to have my dream job getting paid to do nothing because he took advantage of confusion as to exactly where he was supposed to be showing up and working. He'd been transferred to the water utility from City Hall, and then shortly thereafter, the water utility transferred him back. So they thought he was working at City Hall. Hall thought he was working at the water utility, and nobody noticed that he wasn't working at all.
Basically, this guy just never showed up for work, and somehow he got paid for it.
This is like
I know. This is like, awesome.
This is like a Seinfeld story set in the European Union. This is the beauty of the European state system. Where you can actually get away with this shit. People are turning up to jobs that are so bureaucratic that it doesn't actually involve any work.
Shangri-La.
It's George Costanza's wet dream.
Well,
with a Spanish
like Wally
accent
from Dilbert. I remember them having, when it was briefly a animated TV series instead of a comic strip, there was one bit where Wally, of course, is the old engineer and doesn't do anything. And Dilbert's asking him, well, if you don't do anything, why don't you just retire and stay home? He's like, the internet's faster here. And I really like the coffee.
That's a good point. That's one good thing about going to work.
Well, I mean, it's also part of the fact that he's part of the union, so he couldn't get fired anyway.
It's very hard to fire people who are in a union.
So like he's just that guy who took advantage of the facts. He's just like, you know what? There's no way they can stop me from working.
In fact, I would go so far as to say that unions are the one reason why employers can't get rid of no good workers.
Absolutely.
So you're stuck with deadbeats for years, and these guys know that you can't get rid of them, and they just milk it.
And the deadbeats, at least, I mean, they do some harm, but it's better a deadbeat than a troublemaker. You know what I mean? Like the person, I know when my mom worked in the healthcare system as a manager, she had certain of the nurses who were like stirring the pot and pitting other nurses against each other and caused so much discord.
Right.
They could never be fired because of the union.
Right.
So at least the deadbeats are merely deadbeats.
Yeah, they're just a drain on resources. That's all.
Yeah, but like you wouldn't have like that's just it. It's a drain on resources, and so like and our whole system is being broken down because there's leaky holes everywhere.
Yeah,
and so everything's being drained.
That's the beauty of a bureaucratic top-down system. So basically, everybody's sucking on the tit wherever they can. Oh, I've got to get some of this. This is free. It won't last forever. Suck away.
But a lot of people, think this guy's a hero for, like, well, you didn't get paid for 6 years.
Yeah. In parts of Spain, Greece, and Italy, they're going to think they'd carry him through the streets as a hero. But that's the
his
culture.
Photo on the wall
that's
as a saint next to the Pope.
Exactly. When you retire at 50,
the system. You're a hero.
You retire at 50. You don't pay tax. That man's a hero.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why the euro's in this fucking problem that it is.
Absolutely. Well, it's kind of like the old, well, I guess it's not that old, but I don't know if you're familiar with Aaron Clarey, CaptainCapitalism.blogspot.com. But I mean, he has a book called Enjoy the Decline. And one of his points is, well, when the system's that broken, you might as well bleed it dry. And
the system is broken. Everything's broken.
And that's the culture that exists within EU member states in terms of bureaucracy.
Yeah, and you know what? He'll say, like, it's immoral, but in order to behave in a, quote, moral fashion in the current system, you're getting fucked in the ass.
So you know what? We're the idiots. Yeah. We three are the idiots because we're trying to, like, bring attention to, the problems when really we should just be riding this dead horse all the way down.
I suppose so. That could, you just want an easy ride. Hey, just get a cushy job with a government
just
pay salary.
Bleed it dry.
And bleed it dry.
See, my problem is I would probably say the wrong thing and they'd find a way to fire me.
Well, this is you raise a very good point, Eric. You really do. I mean, are we crazy? Are we stupid? Yeah, we probably are.
Yeah, I'm the crazy one for caring.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. You know what? You know why I never voted socialist? Because the socialists never voted for me.
No, they would say that you're the crazy one for pointing this out.
Yeah,
you're the uncaring one.
They tell you it doesn't exist. You're the crazy one for thinking it exists. There's no
that's
problems.
right. I'm a conspiracy theory, and nothing's wrong in the world. But I should be probably castrated.
No, you should definitely be shut up and told to be quiet, and shamed into it if necessary.
Oh, they've been trying that
heavily
for years.
Medicated.
Oh, there's that too.
Okay, what else have we got?
Speaking of that, or at least self-medication, a British primary school sent a letter home to parents asking them to refrain from smoking marijuana when dropping their kids off in the morning.
This is brilliant. A primary school, right? So like there's parents turning up in the car with a kid in the car, chonging away on a big spooky stick, right? Inside the car's full of smoke. They wind down the window. They go, "What?"
And they go, "Can you not smoke?" If they're walking the kid, then it's a cloud that.
Yeah. Can you not smoke? They've got drum and bass.
So the kids are coming to school stinking of skunk.
Of weed. Yeah.
Right? And they're like, "Did you get high?" And you're like, "No, Daddy did."
Yeah, but I was in the car with him.
I was in the car with him, and you're like, "Oh."
With him and Uncle Simon.
Could you please not drop off your pot-smoking kids at school?
There's another story from the UK a couple of weeks ago, and it might have been the same primary school. I hope it was, actually. Basically, the headmistress said, "Listen, when you drop the kids off at school, can you make sure that you're not wearing pajamas? Not the kids, the parents."
Yeah.
It might be the same one. This was St. John C of E Primary School in Radcliffe, and the headmistress was Deborah Binns. And part of what she said about the marijuana was that she asked parents to make sure that they set an appropriate example for kids and for the community.
Okay, my first question for that is, they're dropping the kids off at school, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they're the primary caregiver.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a mum or a dad that's going to go back and watch daytime TV all day. And that's fine if you're going to
wait the extra 15 minutes.
Chong it up, exactly. Or are you going to a job with the Cadiz City Council? That's what I want to know.
Working remotely from Radcliffe.
Where the fuck are you going to work if you've been chunging up weed at 9 o'clock in the morning and then going to work?
Well, they're probably
industry.
the local drug dealer.
Maybe everybody at that school's a drug dealer.
Is it a public school?
Yeah, it's public school. Yeah, you don't. I mean, they have la-di-da names if they're private schools in Britain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a C of E school or a Catholic school, they're all public schools. Brilliant. You can't make that shit up. I love it.
No.
That's the kind of parent you want to hang out with.
Love the old country. Love the old country for that sort of stuff.
You miss it?
Very reliable. Not that sort of shit. Can you imagine sending your kid to that school?
Oh no, I can't imagine going to school in the UK.
Well, you can't imagine having a kid and going to school anyway, can you?
I like the idea that one day that would happen, but no, I can't imagine.
It's a little Eric with a toucan getting all angry with you, telling you to fuck off.
That's right. How old are you? 3. Get fucked.
Get off, daddy. Get the fuck out of here. What are you saying?
No, the UK just I've been to the UK. They grow them big. You're tall.
Yeah.
You're tall. UK fellas are big, thuggy. Just like the movies. They're scary. The UK is a scary place.
Yeah. Also, you depend on the diet. Some places you get really, really small people who are just extremely violent because they're small.
Right.
Napoleon syndrome.
Yeah. The smaller, probably the more violent.
Right.
Yeah. But it's a different world.
It's
a different world. So, anyway, is that it for this week?
That's it for the news. Yep.
Well. How, Ivan? Do you feel like hearing one of my stories?
I love your stories, Eric, especially the funny ones. Have you got a funny one for me?
When you say funny, you mean a story that is actually funny, or a story about a time that I did something ridiculous?
Well, both. I mean, if I can get both boxes ticked, I'm really happy.
You're laughing at me.
One, when you do something classically Eric and it ends in chaotic hilarity.
Yeah, okay.
How about that?
I got a good one.
All right.
I got a good story for you. I'm reminded because I have to get my auto insurance renewed.
Okay.
And this is a story that has something to do with auto insurance. And a few years ago, when I was living in Montreal, I bought a van. But I've never given up my Alberta residency because Alberta doesn't pay provincial income tax, right? So we pay less taxes than most people. So even though I was living in Montreal, I was like, fuck that. I am not becoming a Quebec resident.
No.
Because I don't want to pay the taxes.
No one in Quebec pays their taxes.
Yeah, because it's stupid. Basically paying if you can get away with it, don't do it, right?
Yeah.
But the downfall of not being a Quebec resident was that I didn't have a Quebec driver's license. My driver's license was in Alberta because I'm an Alberta resident. Right. And so I bought a van and I was living in Montreal, but I didn't have a Quebec driver's license, which means I couldn't get Quebec insurance. Or I couldn't get driver's insurance for my vehicle because I couldn't register my vehicle in Quebec.
Got you.
Right. Whereas the rest of the country, it doesn't matter where you live. If you've got a valid driver's license, you can get insurance for your vehicle. Except that everything in Quebec is its own. It's basically its own state, except officially.
Right. Yeah. No. It's Quebec centric.
So I called up this insurance company and I tried to get insurance, and so this woman is asking me a bunch of questions, like what my name is, what my age is.
Was she asking you in French or was she asking you in English with a really funny accent?
She was she was asking me in English. We were speaking in English, because even though it's the official language is French, they still want your money.
Anyway, so are you saying that basically the official language is French, but if you're doing business, they do it in English?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because English is the language of money.
Well, English is the language of business and French definitely isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows that.
They didn't, the French didn't exactly invent capitalism.
So anyway, what happened?
So I started answering. So basically, I'm on the phone. I'm trying to get a good rate for my insurance. And the woman asks me a bunch of questions. And then she says, one of her questions was, have you called anybody else today to inquire about getting insurance? And although I probably had, this wasn't the first person I called to get a quote for insurance, I said to myself in my head, I'm thinking, why does it matter?
Exactly.
If I've called another person.
Yeah, none of your business.
It's none of your business, but I didn't want to say none of your business.
That would have been very Eric to say that.
I didn't want to be hostile. Right. And I, know thyself, as they say. So I was like, I think I just said, what do you mean? And she says, well, have you called anybody else to get insurance, from another company? And I said, well, is that important? And she says, answer the question, sir. She said that, like she was just like bluntly like, just answer the question. And I said, well, why is it important to know if I called somebody else? And she says, if you don't answer this question, I'm going to list you as unresponsive or hostile. And I'm like, and I said, whoa. I'm being hostile because like, I don't understand the relevance of your question.
And you're asking about what is the relevance and what's the relevance and what authority do you ask this question with?
Yeah, and so she, instead of answering my question of like, why is that necessary, she just said, look, you are being hostile. I'm not serving you anymore. And I said, whoa.
This is so familiar.
You know what? I said, you know what? You and I are clearly not on the same page.
You usually said, you and I are not made for each other.
That's what I should have said. But I didn't say that. That's not what I said. Instead, I said, you and I are clearly not getting along. Is there somebody else that I can talk to? Can I speak with a man?
Did you hear yourself saying these words before you said them?
After the words came out, that moment I knew I was doomed. Right?
This is Quebec, right?
Yeah.
You're already speaking in English, right?
Yeah.
In a legal language.
Yeah.
And then you said to her, can I speak to a man?
Yeah, and that's, you know what? I didn't mean it that way, but that's exactly what came out of my mouth.
That's exactly how she's going to take it. Because the course of this conversation has already been laid out clearly for you.
Yeah.
There's
no going back.
It's been made absolutely clear what avenue this conversation is taking.
And she said, excuse me? I was like, look, you don't like me. I don't like you. Just let me. She's like, you want to talk to a man? She said really loud so all the other people in her like department can hear her. And she gave me a piece of her mind, right? Like, you don't think women can do this job? And I was like, that's not what I said. And she's like, fuck you. And she hung up the phone.
Really?
Right?
That's very unprofessional of her.
Right? So, any normal person would have just left it there.
Right.
Right? But not me.
No. Because you're not a normal person, are you?
Not a normal person, right?
Right.
So what happened was that I took a breath.
Right.
And
you're like George Costanza in boxing gloves, aren't you?
Yeah. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, in my brain, I was thinking, what have I done? I can't leave it like that.
Right.
I got to try and make it worse.
So what? So you tried to make up with her?
I tried to make it better, but I called back immediately and I said, look, I just got disconnected from the phone. I was talking to a woman about, and then I got cut off, and they're like, "Oh, we know who you are, sir. We know who you are. Everybody here knows who you are. Just a moment, we're gonna patch you through to our supervisor." And I was just like,
"So is this a man or a woman who was saying this?"
Well, I was like, "Okay, great. I'll speak to the supervisor, and then I'll try and explain to the supervisor what happened." And and then I got I got through to who I was told was a supervisor, but probably wasn't a supervisor.
It's just their goon. It was their office goon.
Yeah, there's office goon. And then so I was like, "Hi there," and I'm like, and she's like, and then like I didn't get it. I wasn't even off. I didn't get a word out. I just got a 10-minute blast over the phone by this woman who's like, "You fucking piece of shit! You fucking man!"
Hang on a minute. So
I would write in and complain to the president of the company. Go to the meeting.
Wait, this story gets better.
Was this a private company or was this a government insurance agency?
It was Wawanisa Insurance.
So it's a private company.
Private company.
Who relies on people like you ringing up and getting insurance with them.
Yeah.
And they're calling you a fucking cunt down the phone.
Oh, they fucking gave me
What's their name again?
Wawanisa.
Thank you very much.
They're actually based in Manitoba.
Right.
But I called the Quebec branch, right?
Right. Well, you're definitely going to get a higher level of quality care if you call the Quebec branch.
Clearly. And so like she just gave me a berating. She just gave me a fucking dressing down, and like she's like she's on behalf of all women, all womankind. This woman just gave me like just a full dressing down.
Right. She didn't want to hear your side of the story.
No, she didn't want to hear my side of the story, nor did she care.
Right.
She was just like.
So they're already being unreasonable with you.
She was Gloria Steinem in Quebec.
They wouldn't answer the question. They were being unreasonable with you. It's quite reasonable. You're within your rights to say, listen, can you clarify what you mean? I need to know why you need to know this information. I'll answer the question, but I just want you to tell me why you need to know the information. And not hardline me as soon as I start asking questions. For them to say fuck you when you ask for a man is bad enough. Then you get to speak to a supervisor and they call you a fucking cunt.
Oh, yeah. She called me every kind of word.
Name. This really, for a private company who relies on the public ringing up and to secure business, it's quite shocking, really.
Well, that's just it. Like, I was like, really? Like, I get that I was insensitive, but like, this is how you guys are coming back at me. And she just like, so I didn't get to say 2 words. I got a full blast and called every kind of name in the book. I'm a piece of shit. And they hung up the phone. And, and they thought, well, that's how we dealt with that guy.
No, that guy's happy customer.
Yeah.
We've sorted that problem out.
Sorted it out, right? Yeah. Clearly.
We've come to an understanding over that problem.
Now, another normal person would say, well, that was the end of that story.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not where it ended.
No? So who decided not to let this go?
I decided, like, I can't let this go. I can't let this be like this, right? So I called the head office. Mm-hmm. I called Manitoba.
Yeah.
The like head office of Wawanisa Insurance. Right. And I said, I have a complaint, a pretty serious complaint about, I got like totally told off by one of your reps. And they're like, really? You got told to fuck off by one of our reps? And I was like, yeah, and I listed all the things that they told, they called me and they were like, excuse us? Like so I got patched through to the vice president of Wawanisa in Manitoba, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay. I heard you got a pretty serious complaint. And he's like, what happened? So I didn't hold back. I basically told him exactly what happened. I was like, I called in, I had a misunderstanding with the woman. And then I told him, I said straight up, and then that's when I said, can I speak to a man? And then like there was like half a second pause on the other side of the phone. And then I heard this guy just burst out into laughter. He just started laughing and laughing and laughing so hard. He laughed so hard, I heard him put the phone on his desk down. And I heard him step out of the office. I heard him close the door behind him. I heard him laughing behind the closed door in a hallway somewhere, cackling for about a minute, right? And I was just on the phone listening to like absolute silence, I was silent, and I just like, and then you hear this.
Do you know why he's doing that? You know he's doing that because he knows the Manitoba, the Montreal office, and he's picturing all the people in that Montreal office. He knows their MO better than you do.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, I know exactly who said that, and I know what a bunch of cunts they are.
Yeah. Well, something. And then I could just hear this big, after that post-laugh hurt that you have, and you're like, and I heard him take a deep breath. And then walk back over to the phone and compose himself, and he's like, "I'll have somebody call you right back." And he had somebody call me back, a man, and they gave me the best quote for insurance.
Hey, let's give it out to Wawanisa. I mean, it's a great name, and you had right done by you. And let's put this down to the Quebec office. This says more about Quebec than it does Wawanisa. Yeah. Absolutely. I think full credit to that guy. He sorted that problem out for you.
I've never had, I've been with Wawanisa ever since. And they've always given me a great rate.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for insurance in the Manitoba or Quebec area, you can't go any better than going with Wawanisa.
Yeah.
They have the Dry Shave Show endorsement.
For all your insurance
needs. Phone the Manitoba office.
But phone the Manitoba office. Don't be phoning Quebec.
And apparently it's okay to ask to speak to a man.
Fantastic, Eric. I love it. Oh, great.
Well, I think I need to go buy some silver coins.
Yeah, you should do that.
And
go to a silver dealer, go to a gold dealer, don't go to a bank because they keep a record of this sort of shit. So go somewhere where they actually protect your anonymity.
Yeah, and bring cash.
And take cash. They love cash.
And I think it's like under $3,000. You don't have to be identified.
I believe so.
So go buy yourself. I like silver coins because like they're only worth about $20, $25.
Easily tradable.
Easily, you can trade that. You can spend that. Nobody's going to drop an ounce of gold because that's worth like $2,000.
Yeah, to drop an ounce of gold, you're going to have to be buying a semi-automatic assault rifle.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think with your silver, you're buying a big bag of rice, that sort of thing. You're paying for a little bit of dental care. Maybe, this is all stuff that you got to consider.
Where the silver coins is like, it makes sense.
This is all keeping Canada happy and safe, isn't it?
Yeah. So in Canada we have like some pretty nice minted coins, the maple leaf.
Absolutely.
So and I think they're only about $25. So I'm gonna go buy some silver.
All right. They are at the moment. They may well be more expensive than that by the time this show goes out.
That's right. That's right.
So thank you for listening, everybody. I've been Ivan Penaluna.
I've been Eric Amber.
And I'm Terry Dracula.
Thank you and goodbye.